Hi, this is Chen for AsAmNews. Today we're talking to Keisuke Hoashi. Now he's an actor who you've probably seen, but don't remember that you've seen him. Well, this might change today after we get to know him. I do know that he's booked a lot of commercials.
Well, per year it's hard to say, but at this point I've actually been in over 80 of them. I just booked another one this
Wow,
month, which
fantastic.
yeah, and actually I booked this like it's like 84th commercial or something. I got on set and it rained, and my shot was supposed to be outside at a mailbox. So
Were you thoroughly drenched, or did they make you stand with an umbrella, or they just didn't shoot it?
they just didn't shoot it. I ended up getting stuck in a little sweaty, humidity filled room with all the kids. Were on.
Oh, I remember you being in Super Bowl commercials too.
There were a couple, yeah. One of them, the big one, I think, was American Express, perhaps. I think that was one that I did. It was with this legendary commercial director named Joe Pitka. And Joe was the guy who actually made Michael Jackson into the phenomenon he was with Pepsi. He was this crazy guy who looked like Gozer the Gozerian, who was able to pick up those enormous 1980s vintage cameras with one arm and swing him around and follow Michael as he's dancing around the stages.
And when his hair was burning.
Yes, actually, he was shooting that commercial.
I'm assuming there may be people who are just discovering you, so why don't you just drop some names and give us a background on all the places we've seen you in, or at least I know I've seen you in.
Well, thank you, Mimi. Yes. I should mention that I first met Mimi when she auditioned for my musical. I wrote a musical several years ago, shall we say, and it was called Memoirs of a Ninja, the subtitle, The World's First Martial Arts Musical Comedy. And Mimi was one of the people. Yeah, right? Mimi came in to audition, and she came and blew us all away with a rendition of Sometime. And you could tell instantly that she had training, she had skill and power and pipes. And then it turned out she was pretty good at doing impressions for later on as well.
Oh, shucks, but
Yeah.
enough about me, it's about you.
That's right. Yeah, I need to be far more selfish on these interview shows. Hi. Well, I'm Keisuke Hoashi. Let's see. I have been in so many things that I kind of lost track, but some of the highlights are I was on Mad Men. I was on The King of Queens. I recently was on an episode of Bob's Burgers, and actually I'm returning for a second episode of Bob's Burgers as the voice of Shinji Kojima. I'm going to appear in the critically acclaimed show Better Things, starring Pam Adlon on FX. There's some other stuff I'm on. I don't think I can say them, but I can hum some of the songs. And you might recognize, for example, boom 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 da 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 whoop boom. Of course I didn't say anything there. And then of course it's da 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 da.
That's a very
Those are
creative
possible.
way. Yeah, I'd say that's a creative way to get a rundown of your career.
Yeah, I've always thought that I should have been a lawyer. I might have enjoyed being a lawyer, and learning how to say things without saying them seems to be an excellent training ground for
Ah,
law.
yeah, I'm sure you would have made a great lawyer too,
Oh, thank you.
in addition to being a great actor. So, what is your method? I'm assuming that a lot of actors want to know your secrets.
Well, my big method is that I came from, I guess, life first. I actually don't have a degree in acting, and I've never been to school for acting. What I do have is a lifetime, ever since I was about like 3 years old, I would always be imitating things I saw on TV. I was the kid who would be able to sing back commercial jingles to you perfectly, including all the sound effects. I And I was always playing and pretending. I'd read Peanuts cartoons out loud up to the point my sisters would beg me to shut up, but I wouldn't do it. I'd then voices for everybody. I'd eventually start doing movements for them. And that's what I've kept my entire career. I've just kept that like sense of innocent play in everything that I do, although there's a lot more psychology behind it too. Um, but for acting, I've found out that you used the word method before. I found that actually that is a technique that works best for me. For those of you who may not know this, method acting basically is remembering the emotion of something. So if you're sad, you remember when your dog got hit by a truck. That'll make you cry instantly.
Right.
Yeah, there are many actors who, of course, that method doesn't work for them at all, and they find something else which works equally well, or not. But this is the thing that works very well for me, just really believing that that's what I am. For example, I've played so many doctors, and I'm not a doctor. I faint at the sight of blood. The idea of I cut my fingertip once with a knife, and apparently I turned completely gray with shock. So I'm not a doctor.
What if you have a scene where there's a lot of fake blood?
Well, I have done that. One of my very first scenes, I was playing a hematologist, and they gave me this frickin' needle designed to punch through the bone of the hip, and you're supposed to just jam it into a hip twist. No, you're not supposed to twist it. Jam it in, and then pull on this plunger to suck the marrow out of their hip bone. It's just grotesque. They made me watch a video of that, and I'm watching, and I've got this face.
Did you
and
what do it with dummy?
Eventually, yes, it was a dummy. Yes, but
thank God.
Yeah, the director, he came to. I was doing it exactly like they told me like I was instructed on the video, and the director was complaining that it didn't look real. So at the end, the final shot, I'm actually doing this. It's like I'm doing a corkscrew to get marrow. I'm all but doing this to yank it out. But this is where the method comes in. So even though I know it's totally wrong, and that if a doctor did this, his license would be revoked instantly. But I could still maintain the imagination here, just like a kid can imagine anything, and it's real to them. I was imagining that I was really trying to harvest bone marrow from a 10-year-old boy's hip bone, and all of that all comes through in your actions and your eyes, your expression. It is imagination. I've always taught that when I was teaching classes at summer camp, that your imagination is the one most invaluable, essential, and useful tool that you have as an actor. And you should do everything you can to remember what it's like to be a 4-year-old, singing Snoopy songs and dancing around like he's getting his supper. And that's just so much fun to watch when kids do that.
Well, what I remember is for you as an actor is that your agent would send you on roles that didn't seem to be quite as, say, typecasted, and you may be the only Asian actor in a field of room of others.
Yeah, that was very, very innovative of her to do. My first agent was only a commercial agent, meaning she just did commercial casting or commercial representation. She told me that she represents a type of actor, and she looked at me and didn't see the ethnicity, although that's part of it. Mm-hmm. But she knew that there's a type of person that is almost always cast in a commercial, and that person is always going to be like, slightly above middle class, like slightly upper middle class, maybe a little below middle class, but it's never going to be incredibly rich people, or there will be, but there's very few roles for them. Very poor people, there's very few roles for them because, advertisers don't advertise. They don't market to those people. So she looked at me and saw somebody who she could sell and who could be an effective face to get those jobs and get the money for doing the work. And that has been the sort of thing I look for in an agent when I meet with them. I ask them, how are you going to market me, or how can you sell me? And if they just say, you're the Asian guy, then I'll say, I can just do that myself. And I had an agent who did that. So, oh my God, so freaking lazy. He was a guy, I won't say any names, even though they're long gone from this earth. I didn't do it, but they're long gone from this
Oh,
earth.
okay.
I think. but this was a guy who would just sit around and wait for casting people to call him and say, "We need your
Wow.
number 5. Yeah, we need 10 Orientals for the ball team. Send me your best Orientals, or we need an old Oriental lady. Get me the old Oriental ladies you got."
And
So they never did any work.
using the ancient archaic Oriental word.
That's how long I've been in this business. But anyway, so I have representation now who is just wonderful in submitting me for stuff that's not necessarily dependent on my race or my hair color or anything like that. They see a role that they say, Keisuke can book this character, and then he'll give me 10%, and it's going to be a big hit, and the 10% will grow exponentially bigger. So I'll submit them on that. So it's in their own self-interest, of course. And, that's actually, I never thought of that, but financially, it is in an agent's best interest to represent and submit people outside of just the normal stuff.
Right. Let's think outside the box sometimes.
Yeah, and it always works very well.
What do you think about the current rage about the crazy rich Asians and its impact on Hollywood?
I think is hugely overblown. For years, I've checked out the census demographics of the United States, and I was always shocked to find out that the percentage of Asians in this country is 3%. And it's grown in the past decade. It's now up to about 6, which is very fast. But that still means 94% of America is not Asian. And, it come to think of it, it probably grew because sometime in the last 15 or 20 years, somebody decided that everyone from the Indian subcontinent are also Asians. Now, I don't know why just them and the Chinese and the Japanese, and how come the Soviet Union's not included. And I always groaned complained about this as a kid in 5th grade. It's like, hey, Russia is in Asia, so how come? So Russians are Asians, aren't they? So,
There are Asian Russians. This is very true.
Yeah. So it's all. I don't know. So that's why I kind of like using Oriental, because that's very specific. Right? You can't look at an Indian guy and say, "Hey, you filthy Oriental person." You can look at me and say, "Hey, you damn Oriental." But
Yes,
anyway, but you had a question. Sorry.
It's amazing. There are many different types of Asian people, and we're all lumped together, which is sad and crazy at the same time.
Yeah, and still we end up at that 6% number. The Crazy Rich Asians thing. The book itself, I've read it, and it's cute. I don't think it's not a Pulitzer Prize winning novel of any kind.
No.
Yeah. The movie itself, it's an improvement, I must say. In Hollywood, things have improved considerably for the Asian minority over the years, just in the course of our lifetimes. The last movie I remember anything like this, that was supposed to represent a huge breakthrough for Asians, was that terrible movie, and I can say that, this really terrible movie called Memoirs of a Geisha.
Oh.
Yeah, and that movie was supposed to be represent some sort of great touchstone for Asian American actors, but it just really, to me, it just showed the same kind of 1920s thinking about a demographic of people. They all look the same. They're all from the same place, so we can interchange them easily.
Right.
We don't need to really worry about what's correct about the cultural representation because it doesn't look good enough on camera. And it just seemed to be a really uninspired production to me. And what made the worst part of it for me, however, was that I couldn't understand anybody. I'm supposed to be able to translate any Asian accent through this language center and understand it, and none of the actors they cast spoke English as their first language.
Oh, right. That's a really tough thing. Yeah.
It is. So Crazy Rich Asians is a huge improvement in that everybody could speak English and I could understand them. So
Once you couldn't speak English, they had nice captions.
Oh yeah, and then they'd say, "Nah, it's a foreign film. We don't read no subtitles." But
Well, any last words you have for our audience?
Well, yes. If you would care to follow me, if you can spell my name, you can follow me anywhere. It's
We'll
my
have
name.
we'll have your specific all your social media posted in the links below the video.
Oh, that's very kind of you. Thank you.
Yes.
Well, you can actually see me on TV continuously, and I've been in this business for so long and done so much work that I'm continuously getting, re-airs and reruns on everything I've been on. Like I get checks for Monk, I get checks for my appearance on Mad Men. I was on the Amanda Show, if you remember that.
Really?
Oh
Wow.
goodness, I was on Drake and Josh. I did iCarly. I recently. Well, actually, I can't tell you. I don't know the theme song for this, but it's a soap opera. I recently been on another soap opera. It's got something to do with medicine. It's
Mm.
like universal medicine,
Yes, something like that.
universal
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
healthcare
yeah.
building. Yeah, universal healthcare building.
Something like
That's
that.
the name.
Yeah. Okay. I'll think about that. It's, geez, it's so hard. You make it really hard to figure out, Keisuke.
I know. I'm just too darn subtle. That's as an actor, just way too much. But one thing I do want to tell you, one wonderful show that I'm going to be on. It's
Hmm.
called The Detour. It's on TBS with Jason Jones. Now they haven't released any information about this, so I can't tell you exactly what's going to be happening on it. But I would suggest if you tune into episode 6 of season 4,
Hmm.
you're going to see something pretty freaking wild.
Oh, woohoo! Can't wait. Thank you. Thanks for
That's
the
definitely not going
tips.
to be a medical professional you're going to see on
Yes,
that.
no spoilers here. All
Not at
right.
all.
I want to thank you, Keisuke Hoashi, for your time and speaking to us, and we'll be looking forward to seeing you on the big and the small screens.
Hey, when you see me waving at you at the screen, I'm waving to all of you. So thanks so much for the interview, Mimi.
Okay, take care. Bye.
Okay, bye bye.